All right, all you multifamily maniacs, welcome to the Deal Lab. I'm Dr. Heath Jones.
I'm Hutch, the Marine Investor.
We have an exciting show for you today. We are going to be talking about closing on multifamily deals. Specifically, the question we'll be asking today is how do you get to closing on multifamily deals? Our guest today has more than a decade of multifamily property experience with competencies spanning physical asset management and leasing, customer relations, and collections, leveraging the in-depth hands-on experience he gained from multifamily professional work as an assistant manager at a 328 unit community. He formed Greyson Capital Group with his business partner to take full advantage of the great opportunities in a growing multifamily space. You can find out more about our guest and how you can invest with him by visiting GreysonCapitalGroup.com. We'd like to welcome Mr. Justin Richards. How are you doing today, sir?
Excellent, gentlemen. Excellent.
Hey,
I'm
thank you for joining us,
alive. I don't
Justin.
have COVID. We're doing good.
Hey, every day above ground is a good day.
Amen, brother.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, Justin, really appreciate you joining us on a Real Estate Experiment podcast show.
Love to be here, guys.
Hey, Justin, you have a pretty impressive bio, and we're going to dive into who you are a little more and actually how you got started in real estate. But first, let's talk about your favorite real estate quote.
Favorite real estate quote. It's not really from a real estate person like you would imagine. Most people think of Robert Kiyosaki or some of these other iconic people in real estate. Mine's Will Smith.
Okay.
Set a goal so big that you can't achieve it until you change yourself into the man that can.
Boom.
And it reigns true for me on so many levels because so many people are fearful and they never take that step. Coming from my background, you just keep pushing forward. You run headfirst into a wall. You find a way over it, through it, or around it. And yeah, you got tons of bumps and bruises, but the education that you go through making these mistakes is phenomenal. And you just change your framework and change the way you think of mistakes. I thrive on failing forward.
Justin, won't you tell ourselves and our audience a little bit more about yourself and how you got started in real estate?
I've loved it since I was in elementary school. Always had a fascination with properties, with design. I come from a family of interior designers, my grandma, my mom, and I loved watching the transition going from something that might be unsightly to something that's just absolutely beautiful. And
Nice.
That creationism, I know it's not a word, but it's just, I love that. It drove me to start listening to negotiation books in middle school and high school. And when everybody else was doing all sorts of other things, I was trying to listen to Roger Dawson or some of these other old timers that just really knew their stuff and trying to build the framework of what I thought I wanted to do. As I got older, I told my parents I don't want to go to college. I just read Robert Kiyosaki. I was ready to knock the socks off the world. I wanted to start my business and get going. And my parents were like, "Oh yeah, that's really cute. So you're going to college, and you can think about that a lot in the next 4 years." So, went to Michigan State University, got my education, and now I'm living the dream. It was a hell of a road.
It's funny because it always seems the parents have the idea that well, yeah, we know that that's what you want to do, but go to college because if that fails, you have a backup plan. And so it's funny because instead of college being the plan A, right? It's now your plan B. And a lot of people we've talked to is like, hey, or maybe it was Arnold Schwarzenegger, don't have a plan B. You have a plan B, that just means that you're not going to, you already have in your mind that you're not going to fulfill plan A. So,
psychologically, it's the worst thing in the world. My partner and I, we burned the boat, quit the job, balls to the wall. Failure isn't an option. There's no turning back. So how are you going to get through that next obstacle? You don't have money? Oh, well, find it. You're not doing well talking to people. You don't have I'm just going through all the excuses that people tell me. You don't have the personality for it. You're an introvert. I mean, you hear it all. It's an excuse. It's something you tell yourself in your head. And if you remove all those obstacles and you remove from your mind that there is not a plan B, to your point, then all you have is the end goal and you keep trucking. It's amazing what that does for your head.
That's going to tie right into the question that he's about to ask you.
Yeah. So we've kind of talked about how you got there. Now let's talk about the growth of your team. Your company has been involved in 6 multifamily real estate transactions totaling over 850 units. We were talking earlier, you said you went from your first deal to now 850 units in less than a year. What was the first transaction like? What did you have to get in place? How easy, difficult was it? Take us through that so that our audience can see the process of getting that first deal under contract and then to closing.
The first thing I would tell your audience is mentor. It does not, you do not have to find somebody at the top. I was fixated. I got to go straight to the top. Got to find the best and the best. That's not always possible. You need to find somebody better than you, and you need to start getting around more people. And then you're going to find somebody better than that. And it's a progression of finding people that fit your personality, your goals, your objectives. You inevitably will work yourself into circles indirectly that will help you get to that next step. And that's what happened. I ended up meeting Mark Kenny at a real estate guys event. I went to one of their successful syndication events, and I sat down with this guy, and he was creating a training program, think multifamily. And I thought, I'm like, I don't need that. I need to find myself a mentor, not a trainer. And 2 years later of stumbling and loss of direction, I ended up coming back to Mark because he was always there, and he was always answering questions and being helpful. And he ended up helping us make that first step. So in December of 2017, my partner and I made the leap and said, we're going to burn the boat and we're going full-fledged. My partner quit Verizon and took his 401k, liquidated it, and said, I have 14 months, throttle down, let's go. And Mark said, hey, it's a numbers game at first because you don't know what's a good deal. So look at all deals and underwrite all deals because you don't know what's high until you see high. You don't know what's low until you see low. So just underwrite deals and put offers in on deals intelligently, not whimsically. And you're going to strike after a while. We did, 80 to 90 deals. We had underwrote in 4 major submarkets. We submitted probably 15 to 20 LOIs. We participated in 10 best and finals, and we got 1 deal. And that deal was an off-market deal in Memphis, Tennessee. And wow, was it anything but easy. We thought, all right, we'd gotten through this process. Gravy train, we're there, got this thing under contract, breeze. Wow, that was inaccurate. We struggled getting the loan. Our loan broker was awesome, by the way, which is something, to your team, Heath, got to have a solid loan broker, got to have good relationships with brokers that know what they're doing. He had to go to 15 to 20 different banks to find something for this property. So this property had a rough history, had just had arson take down 16 units, and we were buying it with these 16 units still burned down, and we had to get it dried in before closing. I didn't even know what dried in meant yet.
What does dried in mean?
So because of city code, the roof was open, so it's still raining and getting in there, and you have risk for mold and everything else. So the city wants you to close the property in. So new roof, new siding, get everything closed in, windows, so that essentially it stays dry. That's where I think that's where the term came from. And we got all that in place, and we just hit struggle after struggle after struggle after struggle on the first one. And even with the mentor, which was great, it doesn't make the process easy your first time around. The learning experience was awesome. So we ended up getting a phenomenal loan. We ended up getting 3 days to closing, and the insurance company that audits the insurance that we're going to put on there for the bank found something. They had okayed it a long time ago, a month and a half ago, and that gentleman had went away on vacation, and this person thought that they would just go through everything, and 3 days before closing, pulled the ripcord and said, whoa, we have an issue here. We had to go out and get new insurance 3 days before closing. And
Wow.
that posed all sorts of issues. The bank wanted to sell the loan the next week. They could no longer do that because this closing was going to go past that date. They wanted to retrade us because of timeline. And we said, hold on, this is your team that pulled the ripcord, not ours. So we had some really tough 16-person calls to get over the hump there, get this thing past closing, and then the real work starts.
That's right.
And you got to asset manage this. You need to make sure and take that plan and deliver beyond the expectations of your investors, which in my mind is almost the hardest part of the deal, because I can be wasteful with my own money if I want to, because it's my money. But I lose sleep when I'm using other people's money, because people work their asses off as doctors, lawyers, service members of our country, and they invest in me and my partner. And it's my job to deliver them to the best of my ability what I promised and more. And that's scary as hell.
It is, because pretty much when you really look at it, they're pulling the money out from some very experienced operators in wherever they are, right? In the stock market, with big fund managers, right? And they're entrusting you with the future of their retirement. That's a big deal, you know?
I mean, that's their kids' school.
That is.
That's their retirement. I mean, people, it's a big deal, and it's scary.
It's scary. So, so as scary as that is, the Memphis market is not any less scary, right? So we accept that responsibility of fundraising, capital raising from other investors who are entrusting us with their life savings, right? And then we put it
Correct.
into a very scary market.
Yeah.
That takes a lot.
You
want
to buy your property where?
that takes a lot of cojones. So as far as your business plan goes, what are some of the things that you had to implement to ensure that you can deliver on your business plan?
Property management knows the market inside and out. Memphis is not scary. People who are ignorant are scary. If you know where to buy, and how to manage, it takes risk out. That's like talking to somebody who invests in the stock market and who's a fund manager. They look at diversification different than you and I. We look at diversification as, all these things. And the people who make all the money, diversification isn't all these things. It's a very few things that they know an insane amount about. And that's the way I look at the Memphis market. Memphis is one of the strongest markets in the country, in my opinion. And it is the hub, the blue collar hub of the United States. They're FedEx, that's where their base of operations is. If you look at them geographically centered in the United States, they're optimally set up for one of the best foundations for rail, air, and water. They're optimally placed. And they have a willing and able workforce that when you look at how much money is spent there for workers versus anywhere else, companies are seeing there's more bang for your buck in Memphis. And they're starting to deliver on that. They got a 3 million square foot facility going in for Amazon north of town. They have 2 major airfields. They got the main Memphis airfield, plus they have another one up north that the military used to use, but was decommissioned by the Obama administration and is now being leveraged more and more for logistics. And guess what, guys? Brick and mortar is not what it used to be. People are going online, and Memphis is slowly becoming the logistics king.
Yeah, I appreciate you clarifying that, because you mentioned that a lot of us are ignorant, which means just lack of knowledge about the Memphis market, right? So if the Memphis market was scary for you, you have now been enlightened as a listener that it's a great opportunity. As long as you do your research, buy the property right, there's still money to be made there in the multifamily spaces.
Yeah, it's funny. You said everybody's going online instead of brick and mortar. I always joke that if my wife was a transformer, she'd be Amazon Prime.
That's a new one. I
I
like
like
that.
that. I like that.
Oh man.
Yeah.
So getting back to that first deal, when it came to the drawing in and closing it up, was that something that the seller took care of, or was that something that you guys had to organize and pay for in order to get that deal to closing?
That was an interesting learning experience. So the seller, we are going to escrow the funds at the end so that the seller would get paid back essentially, and the seller was going to put the money in, and we negotiated an interesting deal. So why I like this so much is the negotiation part. So Memphis has an interesting program that allows tax abatements for individuals that come in and spend more than 50% of the purchase price on renovation. It's called the pilot program.
Okay.
And in order to reach the pilot program, we obviously had to have 50%. So we wanted to take on the responsibility of that 16 unit renovation. And we wanted to take the responsibility of that drawing it in. And we wanted to drive the price as low as we possibly could, because that makes 50% of that price an easier number to obtain. And they've just recently passed legislation where now that 10-year tax abatement is 20 years. So I mean, that's money straight to the bottom line. That's NOI for free essentially. And we're delivering a better product for our investors and a better product for our tenants. So it's a win-win-win.
Yeah, I like that. So we're going into a project like that using a bridge loan, right? That requires you to raise a lot of capital, because things could get very interesting after you close on that property, right? So
Yep.
what are some of the things you had in place, or what are some of the lessons learned of the things that you needed to have in place where you didn't have in place, which created some challenges or make things easier?
Having the right property management made things a lot easier. We
Okay.
use Multi-South down there, and those guys cut their teeth buying units for $10,000 a unit, completely rehabbing them and working with difficult tenants. And because that was where they cut their teeth, they excel at this kind of stuff. The main things that we learn in Memphis is how fast can you mobilize and start that transition. So when you go into something that's ugly and has a poor tenant base, you want to get security up, you want to get gates up, you want to get, in some cases, security patrols in the area, because we know the area is good, we know the people are good, and we know there are lots of people on that property that want a safe environment for their kids to be raised in. So how quickly can we obtain that end result, and then from there deliver on the turns, deliver on building that property out, that 16 units, so that we can start bringing in higher quality tenants so that we can deliver on our end goal of the business plan.
I like that order of priority. So you prioritize the safety of your tenants over just creating profit day one. So profit is good, but also security in attracting higher quality tenants was definitely a priority.
Yeah.
I like
Well, you
that.
want your tenants to stay ultimately. You
Correct.
want as
Yes.
many tenants to stay as possible. So you want to and don't feel a bit of remorse for kicking out the people that are making others unsafe. There's no remorse whatsoever.
Right.
And get the bad out, keep the good in, and bring more good alongside them.
While you were going through this entire process, you were probably still looking at other deals, underwriting. How much time was it between working diligently to get this first one closed? This was 144 units.
Correct.
Closed, 16 units burned out, got to get a roof on it, got to do the tax abatement with the 50%, drive down the price. You're all these wheels are spinning for this one deal. How soon were you able to focus on the second deal, and tell us about that closing? How did you get to that closing? Was it easier than the first one?
Or did you close on it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it's a good one. Good one, Hutch.
There's a story there, Hutch. We started working immediately because we knew the process it was going to take to get something under contract. And we knew we had great relationships in Memphis. One great thing about multifamily, or anything in life, once people see you execute, it becomes easier. It's not easy. Don't confuse that. It's not easy, but it becomes easier. Once we had that relationship with the broker, the banker, the area, we immediately moved, and we actually, this goes to my quote, we almost wanted, like, hey, I think it was Tony Robbins or somebody said, the person out there creating problems and solving them is the person that's growing. So Aaron and I tried to find problems to grow. And you don't want to find big problems that you can't solve right away, but you want to push yourself to a point. You need somebody to help you get around. And we went after a portfolio. So we tried to take 800 units at once, got it under contract. We were super excited about it. Honestly, I thought it was going to be a really good opportunity. And after we toured the properties, there were 6 properties in the portfolio. We found there were 7 million more in renovations that would need to be done than was described by the ownership group. And in their defense, I know the owner. He didn't know. This goes to the value and power of partners, or lack thereof. He partnered with somebody that was going to manage the properties, and they were embezzling money and not being transparent.
Wow.
So he didn't know that this was even an issue. So coming back to the table, we told him the price that it needed to be to make this work, and we ended up walking from the contract. It was the best decision we ever made. It was hard because, of course, we wanted more units. We thought we could still make it work, but it's not worth it. Sometimes the best deals are the ones you walk from.
Yeah, I've always said that, having another 800 doors would be awesome, but if they're the wrong doors, then it doesn't make business sense. It doesn't make dollar sense.
Well, it can tank your company. And the reality is we were so young, that would have been a poor decision. So we did what we thought was best, which was create a wonderful relationship with the owner. And we closed in January on one of those properties. And we'll be going back later for other ones. We didn't get it all at once, but patience wins the game.
Yes, so I like that.
During that process, when you walked away from the contract, were you during the time where you lost your EMD money, or were you able to get out?
We were able to get out we lost a little bit. We lost about 12 grand. Most of it we were able to recoup because it wasn't, it was something that was pretty gross in nature.
Right.
So we were able to get most of the money back from the bank. We got most of the other stuff back, but we weren't able to get back some of our due diligence funds and the money we went out there. And of course, for those of you out there in your listenership group that think you can start with no money, I call BS on that. Aaron and I started with nothing. We were borrowing money for down payments. We're borrowing money every step of the way. And we were having to be very, very creative in how we do this so that we can take strategic steps forward without putting ourselves in a debt situation that was going to crumble the foundation we were building.
Yeah, if you took had a line of credit for 12 grand and you use that for your due diligence, and then all of a sudden you have to walk away from the contract, you still have that $12,000 credit card or line of credit bill to pay. So
yes.
You do have to be very cognizant of how you're moving forward. Had that been your first deal, that would have been a little bit larger of a speed bump than it was for the second one, I imagine.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah,
but
so
I would say if you're a newbie and you went after an 800 unit portfolio on your first deal, that would probably be pushing the boundaries a little much. It was even for us. I mean, it is what it is.
When it comes to a newbie who is like, I'm going to try to tackle an 800 unit deal.
Yeah, I know you have a great thought, and I really want to hear it.
No, I got it. It's all good.
I think I know where you're going with that thought, and you never want to take off more than you can chew, but also if you feel really comfortable in a team that you have in place, you can take pretty monumental steps, provided you have that high level of confidence. So we lost that deal, and we moved on to the 2 properties, that one that we closed in January, plus another 253 unit in Memphis that we went after. And while that was happening, we ended up picking up 3 properties in Jacksonville. So last year, Q4, we closed 5 properties, and it was a phenomenal experience. We were able to get it done. It was ugly as hell. I've spent the majority of Q1 and probably the majority of Q2 shaking out all the bugs, rebuilding the foundation. I'm stuck in the house anyways, so we're redoing and retooling the way we address all these things so that we don't have the same operational shortfalls that we did during those projects.
Yeah. So can you tell me who said this quote? Confidence in growth comes with confidence in group.
No, I can't, but I like that.
That is you, my brother.
That.
You said that. Yeah, man.
I should listen to myself more often.
I'm telling you, man. We people paying attention. People paying attention. So confidence. So I kind of want to tie this into my next question. All right, yeah. But confidence in growth comes with confidence in group, said by Justin Richards. Right. So Q4 of last year, your team acquired or closed on 5 different properties. Can you walk us through how your team or your group was able to navigate those 5 transactions, which sounds as if it was going simultaneously? If they all
that's almost like 2 a month.
We were very strategic in the way we took the contracts down, and we were willing to walk from a contract if we couldn't stagger them properly. Right. So when we were looking at how we were going to take them down, we wanted the bigger first, because that was going to be the heaviest raise. That was the 253 in Memphis, and one of the smaller ones in Jacksonville, Florida, that we took down relatively close. And we packaged the 3 in Jacksonville as a portfolio, and we did that strategically for multiple reasons. Number one, we wanted to be able to stagger closing. Number 2, we wanted to spread out money raising. And number 3, we wanted to optimize the investor benefit in a new market for us in Jacksonville. So there's inherent fear going into a new market, and we wanted to put that fear at ease by taking properties in 2 different submarkets and packaging them together. So if one has a slow quarter, the other 2 pick up the slack, or vice versa. And we could also get the greatest economies of scale when you enter into a new market by having multiple properties that you're bringing a property manager in to tackle.
So that portfolio, is it listed? Did you do it on one LLC or it's its own separate LLC? How do you structure the loans?
So every property is its own. So it's an interesting question, Hutch. You need to look at, just like in your business, what's your end goal? You want to give your investors the highest probability of success by having multiple exit strategies. We took out, it's 3 separate businesses, 3 separate LLCs, 3 separate loans, so that we could break off a property if we needed to, or we could package them together and sell them if we wanted to. Then we combined all of them under one PPM. And for those of you who are fairly new to the industry, PPM is a private placement memorandum. It's how the SEC allows investors to sleep at night. Make sure we dot our I's and cross our T's.
That was a creative way to package everything up.
That is
3 different LLCs for each property, and then putting it all under one PPM. That's pretty creative. I like that.
A great quote from a book I read recently, Power of Broke, Damon John. That's where creativity comes from. When you can throw money at a problem, you're not forced to be creative. If you don't have money to throw at a problem, it forces you to think outside the box. And that's why, for all of you little people out there like myself that don't think you can do it, you absolutely can do it. And more importantly, I believe that we have much more strength than some of these juggernauts out there because of the creativity we can exercise.
So before we get to the focus round, Justin, I have one last question for you. A great quote by Tony Robbins said, "Build a business that someone will want to buy," right? So what types of relationship are you building to create a high level exit strategy or opportunities in the future for your portfolios?
I try to put myself in as many rooms where I feel like the least intelligent person in the room. And most people, that scares the hell out of them. That's where I feel the most at home. And encircling yourself with those people, you want to build a platform that is saleable, and you want to build backwards. So many people, in my mind, start small, think small, and act small. My partner and I look at Greyson as a $1 billion multinational conglomerate and say, what systems will we have in place then, and how do we get there so that we can build backwards? Because systems are so important in what you do. And that's not saying that I have great systems yet. We're working on that. But every system I put in place, I say, how does this system going to interact with or scale to meet my goals of the next system or meet my goals of the next step of my company's growth. And every purchase we make has that end goal in mind, because you want everything to work together cohesively. You don't want to make a poor purchase that you spent all of this time building a system only to find out that you have to scrap that system and spend twice as much time moving that data or that information to something else because you didn't put enough forethought into it.
What are some of the additions you have made to your team in recent months to help you to get towards the end goal?
We have an amazing accountant that it took us 4 accountants to get to. We have an amazing legal team that took us 5 lawyers to get to. And these are some of the key players that are part of our foundation that can help us grow. My accountant isn't just my accountant from the accountant's sake. He also runs a family office. And he is educating us on how to talk to larger and larger groups and represent ourselves better to the people that we want to attract. And he started off as an accountant and has become a mentor. And Casey's been amazing. I love the guy. He works with a lot of high net worth individuals, and he takes time out of his schedule because he sees something special in us. And Hutch, you and I were talking about this before we started this. If that's the one thing I could tell new people, is when you go into these groups, don't be afraid to tell people where you want to be. We all think that we have to achieve a certain stature to talk about this. That's complete nonsense. People thrive on your enthusiasm and your desire to learn. And if you go into an environment with people that are smarter than you and you show a genuine desire to grow and learn, it is infectious. I don't care if you're a millionaire, a billionaire. Those guys work their ass off to get where they're at, and they can see that drive and ambition in young people or people of any age, and that sheer desire to grow. And it still sends chills down my spine talking about this stuff because I didn't know it, and it scared the hell out of me. But now that I know it, it's so powerful. You can get around anybody you want to by asking the right questions and putting yourself in the right situations.
It's a great way to head into the focus round. Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
All right. So what does a man with a cowboy hat do for fun?
Funny enough, I learn. My favorite thing to do is learn. And if I didn't have a munchkin and didn't have a wife, I wouldn't move from here. I would be learning all day, every day, as much as I possibly can. But I do have a family, and spending time with them gets me through those tough times. So that's where I spend most of my time. I'm an adrenaline junkie, always have been. I love motocross, skiing, sailing, anything that just is a natural drug.
All right, Justin. So opportunity, what is one opportunity that was a game changer for you?
As is in every facet of life, it wasn't necessarily an opportunity. It was an individual. For me, it was Mark Kenny. It was the power of the right mentor. It's important for people to realize most people set their bar really high on a mentor and think, all right, well, I got this billionaire that I want to get to, and I got to get to him if I'm ever going to start. I got to get all the way to the top to start. No, you find somebody that's better than you, and you shadow them, and you watch what they do, and you grow, and you learn what mistakes they're making, and you find somebody that can help you get over those obstacles, and you grow your way up to these bigger mentors. And not saying you can't go to that level, but that's a place of fear where most people operate. They think that they have to get here in order to start, and that's crippling.
We were talking before the show about how big you want your company to grow, and you have talked about it while we're recording as well. That requires you to be able to articulate your vision to a lot of people, right? And this is from starting out to where you are now to where you want to be. Communication is important. What would you say is your most important communication tip?
More communication.
Okay.
Don't be afraid. Tell people your desires. And, we were talking about it before, Hutch. When you tell people your desires, you may think that they think, which is your problem. Don't think what they think. Think with your heart. You may think that they think that you're not there, or that you're not worthy, or that you're not ready. The reality is when you share that desire with people, you're putting out into the universe a powerful homing beacon that will draw people with similar interests, similar desires that are much higher than you into your circle. But they can't hear you if you don't communicate. Talk and tell people where your heart is. Tell people what you want to do. People will tell you that you're crazy. That's good. That means they're scared and you're moving. Keep moving, and you're going to draw the people you need to in your life to step you up to that next level.
Tight.
Mic drop. All right. Understanding. What is one thing you wish you understood earlier?
Ties back into the last two. The power of strategic marketing and networking. More networking. Because I was so fearful of networking and telling people my passions and my desires, I started behind the 8 ball. If I would have only built a network of people behind me before I got involved in this, as heavy as I am now, I truly believe that I would be about 2 steps ahead and I would be a lot more secure. And security is an illusion. I don't want to say that saying I'm insecure. I'm not insecure, but your power comes from what you feel you can do. And if you have this big base of people that you've created that support your vision early on, it's true power.
So when you're talking about the network of people, is this friends and family? Is this other people at local real estate meetups? Where is this network? Is this you go to a conference, then you meet up with all the people who are giving the seminars?
Yeah. Everybody go get out and explore what you're interested in. Explore it. Go to seminars. You don't need to spend $10,000 to go to some of these seminars. Start going to local ones. Get into it. Start talking to people. Start growing. Then go to a couple national ones. You'll start surrounding yourself with people that are so powerful. It gives you strength. And I would love to say it's family and friends, but honestly, most of your family and friends lovingly are some of your biggest weights. And your friends, a good friend of mine told me this, that's very successful, says, at first your friends are going to think you're crazy. Then they're going to give you kudos for your growth. And then they're going to resent you because you're doing something they wish they should have done. So true. Absolutely so true. So you have your family surrounding you. Fortunately, my family's been very supportive, but I know lots of other families that haven't. You don't stop talking to them. Just find different topics because you don't need the negative drain of what you can't do. You need to surround yourself with people that are going to show you how you can do it. But more importantly, if you want to find people that aren't going to say that's not possible, they're going to ask you how it's possible and force you to create and solidify your vision.
To what do you attribute your success?
Resilience, brother. Resilience. There is so much power in pushing through pain and discomfort that people respect that. The people who are watching you respect that. Be true and genuine to your group. If you're struggling, don't be afraid to say you're struggling. I'm struggling, but I have people in place that are going to help me get past the struggle.
That's right.
I have the knowledge base to help me get past the struggle. But to portray that you have been flawless and you haven't had mistakes, that's as transparent as ever. And you can't do that. Push through the walls, walk around them, jump over them, push yourself to extreme discomfort, as David Goggins would say. And in that, you will find your true self.
That's powerful, man.
Excellent.
Oh, man. Thank you,
Fantastic.
Justin. Man, really appreciate the knowledge that you impart on us today from a personal and professional perspective, from starting out to develop and growing to where you are, and also creating a vision that you can actually attain, back plan it, and make sure that everything is consistent with getting towards an end state that you want to accomplish eventually. So really appreciate that.
That's my pleasure, man. I wish there was more people who are doing what you guys are doing. Education is so powerful, and you guys make it more accessible for those people that can't afford to fly around. and you are giving people the power to grow. And that is so important. And we thank you so much for what you guys do. And we thank you for your service, Hutch.
Thank you, sir.
Well,
Appreciate the
thank
support.
you for the kind words. Oh, man. Well, Justin, if any of our listeners wanted to get in touch with you, how would they go about doing that?
You guys will have a few links below this when it's posted, but you can get a hold of me at greysoncapital.com and or go below, and I'll have my email, social media, and phone number down there.
Thank you again for taking the time today to walk us through the process of going through closing, getting the properties to closing, even when there's one building that's completely open to the elements. A lot of hardships throughout that process, and I think it really helps people who are starting out, or even people who've maybe done their first closing, to know that you can achieve it, you can get it closed if you really, really put forth the effort. And sometimes it's just better to walk away from it whenever it's not going to work. So yes. Thank you again for taking time, and we appreciate it so much. So yeah. All right. Well, thank you to all our listeners for sticking with us and staying tuned. We will see you next week. I'm Dr. Heath Jones.
And I'm Hutch, the Marine Investor. Out.